Hi, and welcome to What Are They Saying? A dog body language educational video. My name is Niamh Lynch and I run Polite Paws Ireland, a dog training and behaviour company located in Fingal, County Dublin. In this video, I aim to help you understand what your dog is saying with their body language. Reading your dog's body language is important because it can give you an insight into how they are feeling. Once we know what they are feeling, we can adjust our behaviour or the situation in order to help our dogs feel better and thus improving their welfare. Understanding what our dog is trying to communicate can also help to keep everyone safe, including your dog. If a dog is uncomfortable, for example, and they cannot get relief away from the thing that is making them uncomfortable, there is a potential that the dog may escalate their behaviour. This could mean that milder warning signals could lead to more serious behaviour. This is something we would rather not happen. There is a rough guide to how our dogs escalate their behaviour. This is called the ladder of aggression. All dogs will display some or all of these behaviours in their lifetime. Even your dog. Don't worry, we aren't labelling your dog as aggressive, and I don't want you to be scared of your pet. We just want to understand them better so we can help them feel safe and listened to. Isn't that what everyone wants? On this ladder, you will see descriptors of behaviours we might see when our dog is uncomfortable, afraid, worried, or concerned about something. Whilst this guide is useful in telling us what signals we might see, it doesn't really help that these behaviours might also be seen in other contexts too, even happy ones. For example, my dog might yawn when they're sleepy, or even when we're about to go for a walk and I'm too slow putting on my shoes. So yawning can be anticipatory. In order to understand what our dog is expressing, we need to look at the whole picture. We follow a general set of rules. The first thing we do is describe the dog's body parts, their body, describe what they're doing with their body. No labels, just describe what their body is doing. The second thing we do is describe the environment around the dog. What can we see in the environment? Only then can we begin to make suggestions based on our observations on what might be going on. Right, let's look at our first dog. Are you ready? This picture here is of a golden Labrador. Let's start with rule 1, describing his body. We can start at the top and move down. The ears are relaxed in a normal position, slightly forward, and the eyes are soft and open. The muscles around the cheeks and the side of his mouth are relaxed and his mouth is open. The tongue is lolling out to the side and he is oriented towards what he is looking at. He looks like he is standing, and unfortunately we cannot see the rest of the body or the tail. Now, if we move on to rule 2, describing the environment, we can say that whoever is taking the picture, the human, is off to the side, the dog is looking at something a distance away, and it seems like it may be outside due to the blurry green background, which could be trees, although we cannot know for certain. Now, based on all of this, let's draw some conclusions. The face is relaxed. He seems to have plenty of space around him and he seems interested in what is happening a distance away. It seems logical then that this dog seems quite okay in that moment. He seems happy, doesn't he? Picture 2 now. It's hard to pretend we don't see a happy dog here, isn't it? He's delighted with himself. But remember, we need to describe the dog. So ears relaxed, facial muscles and mouth relaxed and open. The tongue is loose and hanging out. Looking at the camera to his side. The legs are forward and fully extended. The dog seems to be in motion as the feet are not touching the ground. The background seems quite a wide open space, perhaps a beach. The dog does not have a lead or collar on and seems to be freely moving. What can our observations suggest? I'm thinking a joyful dog having a good time outside. Now, pictures are a fabulous learning tool. We can look at them for as long as we want and we can take our time figuring it all out. But still images can only tell us so much. We need context. We need to see this all in motion. It's hard to draw conclusions from still images. I could show you lots of photos of me growing up where I looked annoyed or concerned, but actually I was having a really great time, and the camera simply caught a brief moment where my body language wasn't reflecting the fun I was having. The next clip is of a dog looking out of a window. Whilst we don't get a heap of information from the dog's face, as it is obscured, there are lots of other body parts to describe. So let's go at rule 1. Describe the dog's body. No labeling, just simply say what you see. Straight away we see a wide wagging tail. The tail is straight out from the spine, sweeping broadly from side to side. The rear end of the dog is moving along with the tail, giving the hips a swaying motion. The dog is facing out of the window directly, orienting towards the humans outside. There are lots of movement of his body. There are movements of feet as it looks as though the dog is walking on the spot. The ears are pulled back and the front feet are lifted and placed back down rapidly, as well as some pawing at the window being demonstrated. What you might not hear is the vocalizing and whining happening too. As the human outside moves closer in proximity to the window, the dog's body moves more rapidly, with the whole body swaying rapidly with the tail wagging, and the whining increases. There's also lots of room around the dog, meaning that the dog can move away from the window at any time, but chooses to approach. Remember, you can watch these clips again and again. Sometimes we see things the second time we didn't see the first. This dog here now has lots of different body language going on compared to the first few clips and pictures that we've seen. This dog is lying on the ground. The tail is tucked under the rear. The body is tense. The front left leg is pulled away from the camera, is pulled away from the person holding the camera, tucked under its body. The ears are pulled right back. There's a bit of tension in the face. The mouth is closed. We cannot see the tongue. And the dog seems to be underneath the camera, as if whoever is taking the picture is pointing it downwards towards the dog. We can't see the environment very well, but we can see shadowing. And I wonder, is the dog near a wall or something like that? At any rate, we can see that this dog looks a little bit tense. There's a lot of tension in the dog. The dog's not making eye contact with the person holding the camera. It's very, what I'd imagine, still. The dog is not standing, or we cannot see any evidence of movement here, although the dog could be in the middle of moving. But the dog is quite still, quite stuck in one spot with someone very close to them, leaning over them. So we can imagine how this dog might be feeling. This little dog here has some very obvious and overt body language going on, doesn't it? So we can see here with this little young dog that we have very clear whites of the eyes, the whale eye that we call, really very clear white of the eye. We have the ears are pulled right back along the sides of the head. The mouth is closed. There's some tension around that muzzle. You can see some tension there underneath the right eye. The dog seems to be leaning away from something in the environment, and there's some tension there along its neck and its side. It's quite a tense little dog. And we can see from the environment that there's something behind this dog. There's something maybe blocking it, or in the background there. And there's also a larger dog standing to this puppy's right. So this larger dog has its nose down facing this dog, and this little dog is leaning in the direction away from this big dog. So we can imagine that maybe if we're to draw some conclusions from what we've observed about the dog and the environment, that this dog is a bit concerned about that bigger dog in its space. It's a bit concerned. Maybe it can't escape as it would like to. Maybe this bigger dog appeared out of nowhere. We don't know the circumstances, but we can tell that there's movement and concern away from the bigger dog's approach. So this little dog is telling us that he's a little bit concerned about what's going on right now. This picture here is very interesting. So we can see that this dog's head is a little bit lowered and tensed into its body. And another thing I want you to observe is look at the size of those pupils. Look at the dog's pupils, how big those pupils are. They're really clear, big eyes, and we can see the whole black pupil is taking up nearly the whole space of that eye. Really clear, dilated pupils there. There's some wrinkling of that forehead, so that the furrowed brow, the brows are up, and we see the ears pulled back and along the sides of the head. The mouth is closed and the head is pointed towards the thing it's looking at, but the body seems to be, it's almost like the dog's leaning away a little bit. The dog is also, it looks like maybe near a wall, or we can't really tell what's going on in the environment, but there's certainly something man-made behind him. It doesn't look like foliage or trees or anything outside. It certainly looks like there's something at the back or around him that's blocking his escape, or maybe he's against it. So we don't get a whole lot of information from this photo, but we can see the dog's body language is telling us that he's worried about something. There's a bit of concern there in his face. Maybe he's scared of something in the environment. And that's okay. They're allowed to be scared, but it's good that we are observing this and getting to recognize that these are the signs that we might see when dogs are concerned or worried about something in the environment. We're going to watch this video clip twice, and in this video clip we see a big Labrador lying on the ground with a small child behind him. So from our observation, straight away we can see the small child repeatedly tapping the dog on the back, and the dog is panting and leaning away from the child. We see some licking. So if you look at the licking, that's a kiss to dismiss. That's the dog saying, please move away from me. The child moves back because it didn't want its face licked. And you see what the dog does when after he licks the child and the child moves away? You can see that the dog licks the child and then moves its body away from the child. The child gets up, backs away, and then watch what the dog does. Moves its body away and angles its body away from the child. In that clip, we'll watch it again. There's lots of space around the dog, but you can see that the child is leaning heavily on the dog and maybe impeding its ability to get up. You can also see some slow blinking. The ears are back. The dog keeps looking away from the child. And then when the child does lean again on the dog, it's grabbing around its waist and sensitive bits. So I can understand why the dog wanted the child to move. The tail is still. There's also somebody in front of the dog with a camera. So the dog is trapped with a wall on the right hand side, and there's a person in front of the dog with a camera. So the dog may feel that the child is behind them, the wall is to the right, there's someone in front, so they only can escape to the left. But they aren't angled. That dog is not angled in order to get up easily to move away. So that's why the dog uses quite a lot of its clear body language to tell the child, please move away. Lots of tension in the face, soft blinking eyes, ears back, tongue is panting because mouth is open and tongue is panting, but they are the dog seems quite tired, as if it's been quite active that day. This next clip, you can see that this dog is in a vet's office. You'll notice the wall behind the dog and the wall to the left of the dog. The dog is also raised up on a table, and there's a human in front of the dog. There's also another dog to this poor dog's right. There's another dog hidden in the corner there lying on the table. And the dog cannot escape easily. There's also a person holding the camera, so the dog is kind of cornered on all sides. And you'll also notice about this video that there's very little movement going on with this dog. Watch how still this dog is now. So we can see here that this dog is incredibly still, isn't she? She's sat on the table with lots of tension in her body. She's quite still. I'm assuming it's a girl. her head, look at her head oriented towards the vet, but her face doesn't move away from the vet, tracks the vet's face the whole time. Look at the ears pinned right back, the eyes, the slow blinking, the mouth is closed. There's some tension in that forehead and down those legs. The dog doesn't even put its leg down when it's lets go, when the vet lets go of its leg. There's just so much tension in that little dog. This video does give me the heebie-jeebies. I'm not gonna lie. So in the happier videos earlier, we saw the Rottweiler at the window. That dog was very wiggly. You can see a happy dog has lots of movement, lots of wiggles, whereas this dog, you can see the whites of the eyes when it looks at the camera person. The poor other little dog in the corner, God love him, is stuck there in between the vet and the scared dog. No escape. Lots of signalling going on with that dog too. But this first dog here, the black and tan one with the injection, the blood's getting done, very still, very worried. Look at the mild lip lick there, very subtle lip lick. You might need to go back and watch this a second time. I'm going to play it again a second time here for you to watch, and you can do lots of observing of that dog and the other dog. If you can spot any signals from the other dog, watch those too, but certainly watch that little black and tan dog for all of the behavior that we can see that dog do. Even though he's so still, there's lots of other little signals, isn't there, that's telling us that that dog might not be comfortable in that situation. And certainly I would not want to be that vet putting my face that close to that dog. Look where stillness and stiffening and staring are on the ladder of aggression. If you go back to the ladder, look at where those are. That signaling usually happens just before a growl, a snap, a bite. And think about how close that vet's face is to that dog. So certainly we don't want to be doing that when working with worried dogs. For that dog, we might need to set up the environment a little bit differently, and do some other skill training, such as muzzle training and things like that, before we attempt to take blood from that dog again. But again, the people involved in this video didn't realise it, didn't see it, and they just assumed indeed the dog was comfortable and a really, in air quotes, good dog. Whereas we can see clearly from the dog's stillness and tension and the ears back that may not be the situation at all. This next video shows a large breed dog on a bed and a small child underneath on the ground looking up at the dog on the bed. This video has lots of signaling in it, but if you are starting to learn what we're looking for, this video may make you uncomfortable. Don't worry, nothing bad happens in it, but it may make you uncomfortable. So in this video, we see the small child climbing and grabbing the dog's paws. The dog pulls its paws away and puts its mouth near the child's hand. The child falls over and the dog does a bit of a lip lick there, looks away from the child. The person holding the camera is right behind the child, a bit of a distance away. So the child starts biting the dog's legs, feet. The dog looks away from the child, please go away, and then puts its mouth on the child's arm, which tells the child to go away. So the dog using its mouth, it worked in that situation. The child gets up again and pulls on its leg, and we can see this dog, there's a bit of tension in the mouth. It pulls its paw away and then mouths the child's hand again, watching the child. The adult still does not intervene, and then the child grabs the dog's paw again, and the dog then mouths at the child's hand. We're going to watch that clip again. There's lots going on there now. So other things that we might spot are the ears are pulled back at times. It's very hard to tell with cropped ears what's going on with the ears. But the dog is stuck on the bed. The dog can't really move away because if it gets down onto the ground, it's at the child's level then, isn't it? And for more harassment. And the child's just being normal. The child's just being a normal child. That's normal child development. The child's just investigating. That's okay. They're allowed to investigate their world, but we do need to keep them safe. So the things that worry me is that the mouth is kind of tight. The dog's trying to pant, but the mouth is kind of tight. The dog does try to look away quite a lot, and then gently uses its mouth closing on the hand to get the child to move away, which works, is working for that dog, isn't it? The dog puts the hand in its mouth, and the child laughs and moves away. But the dog gets what it wants out of that. The dog gets the child to move away. So certainly I can see a lot of body language there telling us that that dog is not too happy with its paws being squeezed and bitten by a toddler. Would anyone like their paws squeezed and bitten by a toddler? Now, this is perfectly normal child behaviour, and that is perfectly appropriate dog behaviour. But you can see that both species clash when it comes to what they both want to do. One wants to be left alone, and the other one wants to try taste and grab and feel the world around them, and that includes the family pet. So it's up to us to spot our dog's discomfort, such as the tighter mouth, the looking away from the child, the ears maybe back, the slower blinking, the stillness, and pulling the paws away, so that our dog never has to use their mouth to demonstrate their discomfort, like this dog is learning to do with this child. We don't want our dogs learning that using their mouth is a great way to get rid of humans. Certainly not our goal here. If we want to identify the earlier signals and teach our dogs that it's okay to move away, or slow blink, or show a little bit of tension in your face, and the humans will recognize that and help you feel much more comfortable in the situation. So I hope you enjoyed this really short introduction to canine body language. There's so much more behavior that I haven't covered here. I wanted to keep this as short and as comprehensive as possible. It's a really short introduction to canine body language. There are lots of other resources out there that you can use to learn more about dogs and what they're trying to tell us. If you're interested in finding out more about dog signaling, dog body language, and how they communicate, you can drop me an email. I could send you some resources and some where to find some more information at info@politepaws.ie. But there's lots and lots of resources available out there. So if you get stuck or want to find some really reputable ones, do get in touch and I can point you in the right direction. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and I look forward to hearing how you got on and how you're using this information to help your dog